Welcome to Myers Metal Detectors, located in sunny Tampa, Florida, where we sell nothing but fun and adventures, treasure hunting gear, and anything you can imagine for metal detecting. Give us a call, 813-237-1939. Happy hunting and dig deeper.
Live from sunny Florida, it's Treasure Talk.
Welcome, folks.
Welcome.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Treasure Talk.
Let's hope it's going to be exciting tonight. We got a great guest, so it should be.
It should be. And of course, tonight, we'll talk about that in a minute, but we're just on YouTube tonight. So welcome everybody from YouTube. But let me go ahead and get started real quick, Jeff, so we can jump in and tell the folks why we're just on YouTube tonight. Okay, so tonight's show, of course, is brought to you by your friends at Myers Metal Detectors, where we sell fun and adventure. And the views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by the Treasure Talk member and guest belong solely to the guest and member, and not necessarily to Phil Myers, Jocelyn Myers, Myers Metal Detectors, or Jeff Monin. And of course, the purpose of Treasure Talk is to promote the hobby of metal detecting and treasure hunting, and to educate our members in a fun, informative manner. And that's what we're going to do tonight.
We certainly will. With our guest, he's very, very good at that.
Awesome. So let's tell the folks about why we're just on YouTube now, real quick, Jeff.
Okay. Everybody probably knows that my Facebook accounts were hacked by somebody that was trying to sell Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and all that. And anybody that knows anything about me knows that I hate Bitcoin, I hate cryptocurrency, and I would never do that. We have never used this platform for that reason and never will. So in Facebook's infinite wisdom, they cancel my accounts. I got a new account strictly for it to do the show. I never posted anything on it other than live stream the show. So they chose last Thursday night about 8:05 after we signed on with Treasure Tales to suspend my account, which dumped everything on Facebook. And then they tell me, no, we're deleting your account. You can't have another Facebook account because you went against our community standards, such as they are. That only community standards only apply to people that want to obey the law and try to do things right. It doesn't apply to hackers and scammers and all that. They get all the benefits. So I'm not able to sign on to Facebook at all. Hackers and scammers and all that. They get all the benefits. So we got a bad echo, Phil, or something, delay.
That might have been me, Jeff.
Okay.
I got rid of it.
So what we made the decision to do was to migrate strictly to YouTube and Twitter. And that's where we're going to be live streaming now. There's a little bit more security, I think, on YouTube. So everything will remain the same. Show will remain 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Monday nights for Treasure Talk. Treasure Tales will be at 8 o'clock on Thursday nights, strictly on YouTube. Now we will be doing our giveaways. Everything will be the same. You'll just have to enter on YouTube. If you're not a member of Treasure Talk YouTube, it's really simple. All you have to do is subscribe, press that little bell. When the drop-down box comes, ask for all notifications. Then you just send an email, and I will put that up right there, treasuretalkshow@gmail.com. Just letting me know that you have subscribed and ask for all notifications. That way I can go to YouTube. I can check to be sure that you are indeed a member, so you get all your notifications and everything, and you'll enter just like you did before. So nothing will change. We'll just be strictly streaming onto YouTube. So that was kind of the basis for our decision. My apologies for all of you that got contacted by this bozo scammer, and some of the things that were said were not very nice, so I apologize. But the good thing about it is 99.9% of you knew that it was not me.
Absolutely. We knew it wasn't you, Jeff. We knew you weren't a cryptocurrency specialist or
That's right.
guy. We just knew it.
Thank God. I can barely operate the credit card, so you know. So, and I generally don't without Susan's permission. So,
There you go. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so that's kind of where we're at right now, and hopefully everybody will migrate over from Facebook to see us there on YouTube, and we'll grow and prosper, and we're still going to have the great guests that we do have, and all the content just be on YouTube. That's all.
Yes. And same great show, same great purpose of Treasure Talk, of course, is to promote the hobby and the educator members. So hopefully we'll do that tonight with Grant, and we won't have any more trouble with Facebook. So this is perfect, Jeff. I think
Well, sometimes, with Facebook, all of a sudden, boom, you just lose the connection.
Yes.
With Facebook.
All kinds of things. Well, we won't have that anymore.
Nope, we shouldn't. So hopefully everything will be good, and everybody will get subscribed to YouTube, so you can be eligible to enter for the giveaways, and there's some good ones coming up too.
Yes, for sure.
So I think we just need to forge on ahead and get on with it, Phil. What do you think?
Absolutely. And I see we got a big, long list. I can see them on. That's why I had that slight echo, because I turned my YouTube on so I could see that. And I had to turn the sound off of YouTube. But yeah, there's a lot of people on there who normally on Facebook are now over here on YouTube. So we got the job done.
I just got a message from John David. He says, "I'm sick, Jeff. May not be long." John here. Well, John, I hope you're well enough to watch the show. You need to call me, dude. Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, I've been lame too. I was going to go detecting tomorrow, and I can't because I'm lame.
Yeah, and you're getting the cool weather too. So
yeah, that's what I was looking forward to. High of 67 tomorrow will be perfect to go. But I guess I'm going to have to wait. Got to go to the doc tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, anyways, shall we bring our guest on?
Yes, let's do that for sure.
Okay, everybody, you've seen this young man before. He's so knowledgeable. And the Deus 2 being one of the biggest sellers for Phil at the shop. And that's my detector of choice, and a number of you, I think, as well. And we're going to talk about Deus 2 tonight with Grant, because he knows all about it. And he was just over in England. He had a really cool find. So let's bring on our friend Grant Hansen.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome, Grant.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Jeff, we're glad you're here. And Jeff already sparked my interest. What was your find from England?
Oh, boy. It was a 9th century silver Viking bracelet. So Viking doesn't come up very often over there. And I was pretty excited. When I found it, I said, I radioed my friend and I said, either have something extraordinary or it's garbage, because when I took it out, I thought it was just twisted wire or metal. And then I cleaned it off. I was like, wait a minute, this thing looks silver. And the patterns, it looked Viking to me. So I was texting some friends and they said, yeah. And then there's the archaeologist on the site who was able to confirm it. So
now, are you going to get that, or is they going to be put in a museum, or what do you think?
That's a good question. So it's been recorded by the Portable Antiquities Scheme over there in England. And my friend has possession of it because it's got to be handed over to them as part of the Treasure Act. And then once it's handed over to them, then they evaluate it, they inspect it, they decide if the museum wants it or not. If the museum wants it, they have to come up with a fair market value to pay me, and I split that with the landowner. They have a history of lowballing prices, so I can challenge that. Or if they don't want it, then they just export it out to me. So unfortunately, that process is going to take about 2 years before we know the fate of everything, because that's just the speed at which they work. So, but yeah, it's exciting.
Yes, I hope you get it, because that would be neat to have that Viking bracelet.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. If I don't, I'll probably get a replica made of it, just to have.
Yeah, so you had some pictures of it then, right? So you got that. And
Yes, exactly. I took so many pictures of it, was holding it like just as because I knew it was limited time.
awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess for the folks who don't know you, Grant, why don't you just give us a little brief metal detector history, what detectors you've used, and of course, how long you've been using the XP Deus, and just give folks a history.
Sure. I started detecting around 2011. Started with the Garrett Ace 350, and that found me some great things. I then upgraded to a MindLab CTX. Did well with that, and then around 2014, I was over in England detecting with a friend, and I saw these people using XPs. And I've seen the ads in the magazines, but I didn't really think much of them. And then I got to try one and I said, oh, wow, this thing's pretty awesome. And it's a lot lighter than my CTX. So about 2 weeks after I got back from that England trip, I ordered my Deus. So I've been swinging a Deus since 2014 or so. And then just last February, I guess, is when I got the Deus 2. So I've been using that now exclusively.
Oh, cool.
Well,
So
it is lighter than the CTX.
A little bit.
Yeah, because I think a bone anchor is lighter than the CTX.
you know, I still have a lot of people who you swing the CTX, and
Yeah.
they're just used to it. And they like
Yeah.
it, so they'll probably stay with it. That's
Yeah.
the hard thing about changing to different detectors a lot. A lot of
Yeah.
people have a hard time with that. They don't want to get rid of their old one. How was going from the Deus 1 to the 2 for
It
you?
was real easy, actually. There's little things like the tones sound a little bit different, like the audio and the MI6 when you connect it. But otherwise, it's pretty much the same interface. It's just got a few extra features, and of course, the multi frequency. What I find is the stock programs on the Deus 2 are really solid. Like I haven't had to create my own custom program. I just go out of the box and modify it based on the conditions of the ground. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
I haven't done a lot of dirt digging with it because it's been so hot, but I'm gonna now our temperature, Jeff and I were just talking, it's gonna get a little cooler the
Hmm.
next few days. So I might get a chance to use it in the dirt. But I've used it on the beach and been very impressed with it, the multi-frequency, the
Yeah.
depth of the detector, the lightness of it. It's a very impressive detector.
Yeah.
Well, Phil, when you get up some of those home sites that you like to dig, the home tearouts where there's all kinds of iron and stuff, I
Yes,
would suggest you go with the FAST program.
Mhm.
fast. Okay.
Yep, and fiddle with your reactivity and maybe your sensitivity if you can. But that FAST program, it runs the pitch mode
Okay.
combined with the square tone, so it's a little bit different, but it's really good in iron infested ground. Wouldn't you agree, Grant?
I would. The only thing I don't like about that program is that it is based on pitch. For some reason, like it's a preference thing. I just don't like the sound of the pitch. So I generally use sensitive full tones, which I think performs real well in the Iron too. But I mean, that's the beauty of the machine. You can set it to how you like it. You can change the tones. You can change a program. You're not just stuck with one or two basic things. You've got a lot of variety. So, I mean, my thought is if you do whatever program you use, just dig everything the first few times out there, just so you know what the machine is telling you. It's a language, you have to learn it.
Yeah. Well, Phil, I know Phil likes the pitch mode
Yeah.
because in his beach program he's using beach P, which P stands for pitch,
Hmm.
because it kind of sounds like the old. See, Phil started on a
Pulse.
pulse,
Yes.
so he really likes that.
Yeah. I'm used to that. I like it, except for that low tone when you're using those bone headphones. Kind of a little jars you, wakes you up.
Yeah.
Hearing that iron, it just vibrates your ear bone muscle. So it keeps me awake.
Yeah. I haven't yet gotten on the beach though. I meant to this past summer and I just couldn't get down there. So I'm dying to try it on the salt water.
Oh, it
It's
runs
smooth.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's at dead solid perfect, Grant.
Hmm.
I
it
mean,
is.
it's unbelievable.
And
Unbelievable.
and a
Yeah.
lot of
Well,
times I'll max my sensitivity out. I do set my salt sensitivity to 1, but yeah, it runs great. It might get a little chirpy running maximum sensitivity, but it's a target for sure.
Right. Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And we've got a question from Head Hacker Morg or Morfage or something. I can't pronounce it. He wants to know, does the Deus Master work as well as the Deus 2, which the Master is just the little round one that just come out.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a video on that. You can check, I think, on XP's YouTube channel on how to use it as a master. Works very well. I think it's a lot more user friendly than the WS4s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, you can control everything through there and save things. So yeah, it's I know a lot of people like to just use the puck. You can actually put it on your stem if you want, or on your wristband. But yeah, it does work well with that. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And I tell you what, I personally I like the bone headphones.
Hmm.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
I
know,
like
I
to.
didn't like them at first.
Yeah, I didn't like them at first, but I'm used to them now. And the idea of being able to be on the beach and use whatever hat you wanted to use,
Yeah.
um, it's nice.
I mean, I think they're traditionally meant to be underwater because if you're not, they're going to blow your ears off, right? Because like you were saying, Phil, about the vibrations, but my hearing's going in one ear, and maybe that's a good thing. I'll be able to just crank it up.
Hey,
Well,
Jocelyn was handing me a question. I couldn't tell if this was a question because she took the phone so fast. But I think they were asking, have you used the Deus, the Danyard? Do you know what that is?
I
The
don't
Deus,
know what that is.
it's
I do.
Dan's lanyard. The guy
Oh,
he makes
okay.
the lanyards for the pinpointers,
Yep,
Yep.
but he makes them also for the Deus. For
Got it.
right there it is. Now, the
Ah,
only thing that you have to realize, and when your Deus 2 underneath, that hole is not real big, so it's going to take a little bit of work to get this through there.
yeah.
And you may have to grind it out a little bit, but this is going to save you. Trust me,
from
because
losing that, are you
yeah,
are you are you Grant? Are you running it wirelessly?
I am. I've become a real minimalist. I don't want wires anywhere or anything. So yeah, I'm completely wireless now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that then you run the risk of losing that uh,
Yeah.
that control housing popping off because I've had
Yeah.
customers say it came off. So that's why he was asking about the Dan's
Yeah.
land. That is a cool little item. It's beefed up. That little one they put in the box with the detector looks kind of thin. So this is a beefed up version
Oh,
of it, is what
yeah,
the
nice. Nice.
it's really good because Grant, you will agree, I know, that after a period of time, when you keep taking the RC, which is the remote control, off and putting it
Yep.
back on, it starts to get looser.
Yep.
Sometimes when you're out in the field, especially up north there, with you guys, when you hunt, when it's really cold, you got the big bulky gloves and stuff on. There's a chance you can knock that puppy off, and you don't want to lose that remote control.
Right. No, you do not. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a lot of bucks.
Yeah.
I think
They've
it's
done a nice thing with the MI6 pinpointer that if you've paired it, that has to be paired to the machine, but if you lose it or you forget it, you can go into search mode and it'll start making a bunch of noise so that you can. I've actually seen my friend take advantage of that. We're in corn stubble and he's like, "Oh man, my pinpointer's gone." I'm like, "All right, well, let's find it." And all of a sudden start beeping about 20 yards that way and we were able to get
Yeah,
it.
oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, that doesn't work with the remote control,
No.
but that's why Phil's got them in stock. The Dan's lanyard for the Deus 2, and he made them because I asked him to uh, one night on Treasure Tales, and boom, he had it done and right, and it's really a top of the line product with a
I like the
saving a
name.
lot of money.
I like the name Danyard. That's good.
Yeah, well, get one for your MI6 too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
I've got
know,
the MI6. Now you use that then, the MI6.
I
That's
do.
one of the best pinpointers on the market, isn't it?
I love
yeah,
it. My only I like that I can pair it or not pair it. The audio you can change it to to the squeal, or you can do the more classic like a Garrett sound. I do find though that sometimes it loses connection, which can be frustrating. So what I've learned is if I turn it on, if it's doing that, if you turn it on and hold it right next to the remote, it will connect if you're having those issues. So it might just be an interference thing, but yeah.
yeah, because I didn't have any trouble. I've got two MI6s, and they paired right up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice solid pinpointer for sure.
And the thing I love about the MI6 with the Deus one and now with the Deus two is when I am wearing the headphones, the wireless headphones, when I dirt dig, that boom, it goes right in through the headphones, no problem.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just and it's a really good pinpointer, and it'll go deep
Yeah.
too.
And what's good for me too is I detect a lot of private home sites that are maybe only a quarter acre big, right? They're not large, but they're filled with history. And if I show up at 6 in the morning, I don't want somebody hearing my pinpointer going off if they're gracious enough to let me be on their property and they're still sleeping. So the fact that it goes to the earphones, I'm not disturbing anybody.
Yeah, that's another good point. Another
Yeah.
good point. Sure.
It is,
So
and
people out there, you got questions for Grant, get them up there. Jocelyn will see them or I'll see them, and we'll get them asked. So get them in the chat, folks.
for sure, just type the questions and we'll ask them. I was going to say with that hearing it through the headphone, that is a nice feature because I hunt in a lot of small lots in my neighborhood, and there's always a dog on the other side of the fence.
Mm,
And if they hear my Garrett pinpointer go off, they're going to be barking at me. So in the past, I always put it on vibrate, but now with the new one from Deus, you'll hear it through the headphone. You don't
yeah.
have to worry about that. The
Yeah.
dog barking because you're bothering him.
And I'll tell you though, you'll build up your wrist strength every time you need to charge it. That cap goes on real snug. So getting the cap off,
That's why they make channel locks.
yeah,
Well, plus, Phil, where when you hunt on those lots, not only are there dogs, but there's always traffic.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's probably harder to hear the pinpointer if there's traffic going back and forth too. But if
Mhm.
you've got it coming through the earphones, that solves that problem.
So we got a question Jocelyn just pointed out from Mark Fiorella, and he's asking what coil do you like? Well, we don't have much to choose from right now, but we just have the 9 and 11.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite?
I don't know if it's a balance thing or a thing what I'm used to. I like the 9-inch coil. It's really no different than the 13, than the 11 rather. But for some reason, I like the 9-inch. I feel like I swing it more comfortably. Usually the stuff I'm hunting, it's like iron infested, so a smaller coil is going to give me a little bit of an advantage. If I'm out in a farm field that's a little bit more quiet, I'll throw on the 13. But I would say 90% of the time I'm using that 9-inch coil. Yeah.
How
Now,
about you, Jeff?
well, I prefer for dirt digging, I like the 9-inch coil. For the beach, I use the 11.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
all I have right now is the 11, and for some reason, uh, Deus or XP Deus is taking their time getting their coils in separately.
Oh,
So right now we don't have any additional coils. You just have the detector and
yeah.
whatever coil you purchase with it. But I imagine that's going to change soon,
Yeah.
especially since I saw the master version of the XP Deus available, and that's a lot cheaper, of course. But it's just that the hockey puck or whatever. But it works just as good, so a lot of folks may just buy that.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
it doesn't come with any headphones or anything, but you could use that as a headphone. You
Right,
could
you
put
can,
that
exactly.
you
Yeah,
could
if
put
you don't
that
need a
on
screen, I mean, I it's weird. I say I detect by sound, right? If it sounds good, I'm going to dig it. But I do like having the screen. It's just a little bit more information, but the screen is never going to tell me to dig or not dig. It's going to be the tone that tells me to dig or not dig.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things that I really like about the Deus 2 is I mean, you can customize it in a heartbeat. Like you said earlier with the stock programs, and they all really rock.
Mm-hmm.
You can go in if it's if you're getting the halo effect, for instance, you
Yep.
know, if you're using sensitive full tones, and sometimes you'll be, and everybody's done this. You're digging a target and you're getting a nice signal, but you can't find the target. You keep digging, digging, digging. If it's wet ground, a lot of times that's the halo effect.
Yep.
So
Yep.
if you just switch back into the general program and go over the same thing, because it's got something in it that um, takes care of that halo effect, then
Yep.
you'll see there's no signal
There's
whatsoever.
nothing there.
So
Right.
I mean, it's so easy too. Bing, bing, bing. You press like 2 or 3 times, and you're in a completely different program. So
Yep. Yeah.
it's really good.
And that's something I do a lot too. Is if I get an iffy signal, for instance, I'll just go through the programs to see what they sound like on different.
Hmm.
Is it coming in stronger on one, not the other? Just for my own knowledge, and yeah, it's interesting to see how they come through differently. And of course, reactivity is going to affect how the signal is and your depth and sensitivity. So I do find that people can often be tend to make things too complicated because you've got this world of options at your hands. I mean, my philosophy is use a stock program and then, based on the conditions, adjust your reactivity, adjust your sensitivity. That's it. You could mess with audio volume if you want that kind of different thing, the tones, just to get it the way you want it. But I mean, as far as the performance, for me, it's really just around the reactivity and the sensitivity most of the time. Yeah.
And when do you change your reactivity? I've left that alone in the programs I'm running.
Yeah. So like 2.5 is probably like your best all around, 2.5 to 3. If I'm getting more iron, if I'm getting a lot of signals in one swing, I'll up that to 5, right? Because I want it to really shoot through all the different targets. If it's super, super quiet, I'll go down to maybe 2. I generally don't go down to 1, but I'll keep it at 2. But you do have to swing slower the lower your reactivity goes because you need to give it that extra chance. So, and I kind of tend to like to swing a little fast. So, I also have to adjust my swing, or if I don't want to adjust my swing, I'll just say, you know what, I'm going to keep it at 2.5 or 3. But it's really, to me, dependent on whether there's a lot of iron or junk in the ground, how I'm going to adjust it up and down. Yeah.
Hmm. And what would you use? We had a question from Barb Connell about in hot mineralized ground, because the Deus 2 you can see on your mineralization bar. It's got a
Yep.
featured mineralization bar.
Yeah, you can, and that's a really good indicator. So there's a couple things I've only detected in Virginia once, which is like notorious for the red clay, and going back down in a couple weeks, so I'll have more experience on it. But you see that mineralization bar, do a ground cancellation, and then do a manual ground balance, and that might help you get along your way. If that doesn't work, switch program, see if that makes it behave a little bit. I was under some really harsh wires, like phone wires, electric wires, and I was just getting a lot of EMI in every program. But when I switched to Deus Mono, which is essentially Deus 1, it went away. So that's another cool thing about the Deus 2. You can run it in Deus 1 mode, essentially.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
so you've got all those different options to do. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
we just got a question from it looks like Musanini is asking about the headphones for the beach. So I know, Grant, you probably haven't done that, but what headphones would you run on the beach?
I just have the WS6s right now, right? So that would be my only choice. But if I had a choice, I'd probably run something with full ear coverage, because the beach has a lot of wind noise and things, and that'll cancel it out. So whether it's the XP ones, or there's other manufacturers that are puck friendly, like Detector Pro or whatever,
Yes.
some of those will work well too. I think on the beach, like having that full ear coverage just to block out all the excess noise would be my preference.
You know, I was like that, and I tried the bone headphones, and it took me a while to get used to them, as Jeff
Yeah.
will attest to. But now I love those. Now,
Yeah.
see, I'm on the Gulf side, and our wave action isn't as bad as the East Coast side.
Hmm.
And Jeff, you'll have to tell us about your opinion at Daytona, how you felt about them. But
Yeah, I like I use the bone headphones over there. And I always have, this will kind of answer another question from Maria Reese about if you're going to hunt in the water. Yes, there's an antenna that you have to hook up to the Deus to. Um, and if you're not going to submerge your remote control, then you can wear your wireless headphones and still be, waist deep in the water probably. But if you're going to take it underwater, the remote control, then you have to have the wired headphones, which would be the bone headphones, or there's some other people that do manufacture now waterproof headphones for the Deus too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have the Detector Pros in stock, and I think also I'm not sure, but I think we have the Thrasher ones in stock
Mm.
too.
The
But
Thrasher one, yeah.
there are other manufacturer those too. So
Tony Eisenhower now makes them.
yes,
Mhm.
he makes those also. And I
And
just, I've gotten used to those bone headphones, and they just work real well here in the Gulf of Mexico. And like I say, I don't go out when it's wavy, so the noise around the breaking of the waves, I guess, would be the only time I wouldn't hear maybe faint signals.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And if anyone's wondering, excuse me, the reason you need the antenna hookup is simply because the wireless signal won't transmit underwater because it is so you need that hard connectivity from the coil to the remote for it to work. Yeah.
And
Uh,
then we have a question from Barbara Dirt Pirate Connell Morrow. Will the WS5s work with the Deus 2?
they will not. The headphones are not compatible between Deus 1 and Deus 2, unfortunately. Same thing with the coils. The X35 and the HF coil will not work with the Deus 2.
Well, it's, the reason why is because the Deus 2 is a multi-frequency and those coils are not. They're
Yep.
single frequency. You have to pick your frequency on those coils, whether it be the HF coil, X35 or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So
But
for
the headphones, the base of it will work. The puck won't. You have to take the Deus 1 puck out and put the Deus 2 puck in.
yeah, so then it'll work flawlessly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of what you like, isn't it, Grant?
Yeah, it's all preference. And like I said, I become minimalist. I like to no wires, even like I'm still trying to figure out how can I have less of a finds bag, and I got my hand digger, and but it's just just want to be out there and just enjoy myself. But I'm also the guy with everything in his backpack too, because I don't want to walk back to the car.
Well, see, that's not something I'm going to take. I don't wear a backpack when I'm out hunting.
Yeah,
It's enough with the fines pouch and that,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So I'm not a backpacker.
yeah. I'll tell you though, speaking of the backpacks, going on a plane to England, I had the XP backpack as a carry-on. I had two coils, shaft, two remotes, two pinpointers. Like, I packed everything I needed in case your luggage gets lost, you don't want to be without your necessities, right? And it was just I could fit everything in that carry-on. It was crazy.
Yeah. And Phil, you've got those in stock, I think, don't you?
Which ones?
The Deus
Backpacks.
backpack.
What is
Deus
it,
backpack?
280?
Yes, I do. And
Yeah.
believe it or not, I even have a Deus hard case that
Ah,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
got. They've
Nice.
been on back orders for like 5 months, and a customer came in and he said, "I've got a new Deus hard case, and I want something else." So we ended up trading for stuff, but it's brand new. So
Mm.
I was amazed that I always wanted one, so I might keep that one for myself. But
Yeah.
we had a question. Now, this is an interesting question. I took out chatter this is from Dave Seiler, by discriminating the signals that provided the chatter. I guess what he did was he eliminated maybe the low signals or the iron signals that were giving him a bunch of chatter. Luckily, the signals that I discriminate out don't relate to the same numbers that I usually get for silver tones. is that bad? I guess using the discrimination to block out the lower numbers if he's digging just wanting to dig silver. That's not a bad thing, is it?
No, that's not a bad thing at all. I run mine at like full negative discrimination because like I said, I like to hear everything I need to hear it, but certainly there's nothing wrong with bumping your discrimination up to say 28 or 30, and then you're just not hearing any iron, and you don't have to deal with all that noise and just go for the good tones. I wouldn't go up too high because once you get into the 40s, you might get some small gold or some other cool old pewter relics. So, but certainly anything below 28, think you're pretty safe and not missing out on anything good. The only thing you're going to lose is if you're looking for a hot spot, you're not going to know where all the iron is, where all the activity was. So you might want to run it open until you find that spot, and then you can bump up your discrimination so that you don't have to hear it all.
Well,
Right.
what you could do in that instance, though, Grant, is he could take, and run his stock program to find all the iron, and he could customize it and save it as one of his own programs, and
Yep,
just click over to that once he finds the iron area, and he's
exactly.
that way he's got the best of both worlds with a matter of about 3 seconds to change the programs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be a good idea, especially if you're out in a field or the woods and you're looking for a home site. That would be an excellent idea. Looking
Hmm.
for the iron, all the because that's where iron's going to be anywhere people are at.
Right.
So you find that, then switch it over to that custom program and
Hmm.
have it eliminate it, and just be looking for the non-ferrous targets. That's an excellent
Exactly.
idea for sure.
Yeah.
Did you pick up the question from Steve Kunder there, Phil?
No, I did not.
He wants to know, when running multi-frequency, are the numbers for the fines always the same? I would have to say, in my opinion, no, because every target is going to be in the same range,
Yes,
but it depends on how it's situated,
Right.
if it's deteriorating or not deteriorating, whether it's with a nail or whatever. There's all kinds of variables, but it's going to be within a certain range.
Yeah, but it'll definitely be a lot more consistent than the Deus one, because if you're running 14 kilohertz frequency and you get, say, a silver quarter, that might come up as 91. But if I'm running a 27 frequency, it's going to come up as a 95. So there's a bigger range. So like you're spot on, Jeff, with there's going to always be a variation with coins, and especially that they're not going to ring up the same. But I think the multi-frequency will make it more consistent. I Last time I was out last weekend, I dug. I didn't believe it was a Lincoln Zinkin penny until I got home and cleaned it off because it rang up as a 35. Have you
Cheers.
ever gotten a penny? It was just so beat up and corroded because it's zinc, but you never know the ranges for these things be
Yeah.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
depends on what kind of soil it's been in too. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
well,
um,
we have another question. This is an interesting question. This is from Barbara Dirt Pirate. Do you have to write down all your saved programs before an update and put them all in again, as with the Deus One?
Yes, and first of all, just a shout out to Barbara. She made a beautiful glass mermaid artwork for me that I gave to my mom for her birthday or something, and it was wonderful. So thank you. But yes, you do have to save your programs. I know a lot of people think that's kind of annoying to do, but when I look at it from a technology standpoint, if I'm adding a new feature, that might not be compatible with the program that you saved. So it would be hard for it to kind of keep your settings. So definitely write them down. You know, it'll take you a couple minutes just to re-put it back in, but definitely a good exercise. If it's not something you know on the top of your head, keep a log on it.
that's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Metal Detect Florida wants to know what the price point of this detector is. Philip?
Yeah, that one, we always run specials in the store, but the internet price on that is the Deus 2, and either the 9 or the 11-inch coil is 15.99. So, but he's in Florida, so he can come in and see me, and we can get him a good deal for sure. Or call
Yeah.
me tomorrow.
Anybody around the country, Phil will give you the best deal. So you don't have to be in Florida.
Yeah, that's true, Jeff. Absolutely.
Now, this is something I've never heard that you guys should. Mark Fiorella, he said it's going to seem crazy. He says he took his detector to a jewelry store and tested VDI for gold jewelry.
That's funny.
That
Well,
could only happen in Buffalo.
that's nice if you know the jewelry store owner that you can test a lot of different targets. That's excellent. That's a good way to educate yourself.
Yep. Yep. I always recommend people doing air tests. Just throw some coins out, throw some relics, just know what it should sound like when it's pure. And that'll give you a better indication of what, the ground is going to affect it in so many different ways. But,
Yeah.
like you said, it's a good education.
Hey, this is a comment from Nick Haas, and it is a comment of the one thing I don't like about the Deus is I still think XP lacks a way to update firmware from a Mac too, and that is
Yeah.
correct.
I say preach on. That's a frustration for me too. I'll admit I bought a cheap PC for like $200 just so I could update. When the Deus 2 came out, they were doing updates every week, and I couldn't keep going somewhere to borrow a computer. And I didn't. If you have a Mac, you can run a PC emulator, but they're resource hogs, and I just didn't want to do that. So you know what? Let me just get a cheap little PC and I'll just use it just for updates. So
Yeah, I'm on a Mac right here, and
Yeah.
luckily I know people have PCs and they update it for me. Joe Busy, who works with me in the shops on Saturday, he did mine the last time, so I appreciate that because I think the last update we did gave us the big number. You can hold the two buttons down, you can see it. It's not real tiny on the display. I just
Yeah.
love that. And then Dan Backus is asking what the warranty is on the Deus 2, and the Deus 2 has a 5-year warranty. So that's saying something.
Mhm.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Product,
it is.
sure.
And
Yeah.
then, of course, Rick Tumbleson says everyone should have a coin garden in their yard.
Yep.
Yeah, and they should put gold coins in it, and then I'll look up Rick's address and go metal detect his backyard.
Well, he's probably got some. He's a coin hound, that's for sure.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So tell us some more of your finds with the XP Deus 2.
So, for my England trip, it's funny. I found some other great stuff, and it was just overshadowed by that bracelet. But I found a King Edward II hammered penny, which dates to the, I think, mid 1300s, and also what I think is an Elizabeth hammered penny from the 1500s. Let's see what else I have found recently. Just typical things you might find in New Jersey, like large cents and King George coppers. Let's see. I found a nice silver thimble not too long ago. I love finding those.
Cool.
And that was one of the I was detecting. It was a church property, and they had this garden area that was kind of squared off, but nothing growing. So I saw one of the groundskeepers like, is it okay if I go in there? And they're like, yeah, sure. And boom, silver thimble. So
Nice.
I
yeah.
bet that thing rang up sweet.
It did. That was a really nice signal. It was definitely. Unfortunately, it was smashed a little bit, but not too bad. Another cool thing I found on that property was a silver garter clip that was engraved with initials, and had JC on it. So now I'm trying to work with the historian to see who JC was, and see if we can track it down to who may have been visiting or living in that property. So I love that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And we have got some other questions coming through here. And Ron's Digging the Midwest has asked, my Apex has 5 to 20 kilohertz. Does the higher range of the Deus 2 give a bigger advantage? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think the more frequencies you can run at a time probably does give you an advantage, right? But there are some programs that don't go as high. The Park program doesn't go as high as, say, the Sensitive or the Sensitive Full Tones program. So you might miss out a little bit on some of the deeper, smaller targets. But you know, it's without doing a side by side comparison, I couldn't really say. But for me, just I think the more frequencies you've got working in your favor, probably the better. But is it going to significantly impact you? I don't know.
I think the higher frequencies would be more sensitive to smaller gold
Right.
items.
Hmm.
So if you were gold prospecting or looking for
Yeah.
gold jewelry or whatnot, smaller gold items, I think
Yeah.
that would help you. Now, Deus doesn't publicize which frequencies are used in the programs, like all the special sauce all these detector companies says. Because some programs I'm sure, weighted higher with the higher numbers and some
Yeah.
with the lower. Like your
Right.
coin programs or whatnot are probably going to be weighted with the lower frequencies. And of course, gold prospecting is going to be weighted with the higher frequencies.
Right. And one thing too about the Deus One, you can change the frequency of the program that you're on, but the Deus Two, the frequency is set. You cannot change the frequency on your programs. So yeah. You can do some shifts to try to rule out some noise and stuff, but the range you can't edit that.
Yeah, but I think they built in the frequency ranges on the
Right.
different programs. So with Deus One, you were stuck with the one frequency unless you changed it. And the Deus Two, you've got a frequency range in each of the stock programs,
Mhm.
and they're coming up for different things. So um, it's kind of a wash, I think.
Yeah.
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 All righty, so let's talk us a little bit more about your finds in the U.S. What is your oldest silver coin you found in the U.S.?
I think my oldest silver coin is a 1732 half real.
Oh, nice.
And it's in wonderful condition too. It's just really happy to find that. Yeah. So
And you're hunting in New Jersey then?
correct. Correct. Yeah.
All
So
right.
where were you at in England, Grant?
In near Lincolnshire, which is sort of East Coast England.
Mhm.
And the cool thing about that area was back in the day, it was under Dane law, and a lot of the towns have Viking names, Norse names, but they haven't really found Viking artifacts to kind of prove it there. And, the fact that I found one hopefully might add a little to the history there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because you get down around London, that was Saxon,
Yeah.
and London and East. When I was over there, we were around Colchester, so it'd be more Saxon, um, down there. But then, should be a lot of Dane stuff down there because they were fighting all the time.
Yes.
And one thing you mentioned that about the pack going to England. Well, when I went, I had my Deus 2 pack. I had 2 complete detectors,
Mm-hmm.
plus 2 extra coils,
Yeah.
plus other stuff in that backpack.
Yeah.
So that is just an absolute killer backpack.
Yeah. It's really good. It's really, really good. And I'll tell you, for someone, Jeff, you don't like to wear backpacks. I'm not a huge fan, but it has got a chest strap and the belly strap, and you snug those in, it really takes the weight off you a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's not so bad.
Yeah. I just don't like having anything on my back.
Yeah, I
You know,
understand.
Now, Jeff, did you use that backpack in the field, or did you just leave it in the van?
We just left it in the van because the van was never that far away from us when we were in the field. Maybe 10-minute walk to get back to the van if you needed to change something out. A lot of times what I would do, I'd make sure everything was charged up. I'd take a spare remote control with me because it's easy. I had the coils in both RCs, and you can stick that in your pocket. And taking spare stuff is good because the Mumbles man was with me, and his little headpiece that his remote control went on broke, and he didn't have his spare. He'd forgotten it, and I had another complete shaft for the Deus, so he was able just to use that. So,
That's great.
that's a lesson when you're going out of the country, or out to one of the hunts that are coming up, like say dig stock or whatever. Take extra stuff because you never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah, I don't go anywhere when I go to hunt. I always have 2 detectors in my truck. 2
Yeah.
detectors, 2 shovels, 2 of everything.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to something you get on a good site and your day gets ruined and you have to go all the way home to get your stuff. So I always be prepared.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And this is telling on myself. When I was down in Tampa this last time, I had thought that I had entered, my 11-inch coil into my other Deus 2. And I knew I'd charge it up. So I grab it and I walk out to the beach. And, from the condo, Phil, out to the beach, that's a little hike.
Yes.
So I get out there, nothing happens, no the coil. So then I got to go back and yada yada yada. And finally, of course, I'm about 3/4 blind anyway. And the only complaint I have about the Deus 2, when they put the serial numbers on the coils, it's hard to read them because a lot of B's look like 8s and all that kind of stuff. As it turned out, I didn't have it in correctly. And as soon as I popped it in there correctly, boom, everything was fine. So,
Yeah.
And Dan Graham saved the day. He says, "You're blind. I know you. You're blind. Take a picture of it with your phone so you can make it bigger." So I did. Then I got it in there right, didn't I, Phil?
Yeah.
Yes, you did. He said it. I was there, and he says you're blind and you put it in wrong. So
And he
I
was
was
right.
worried. I hadn't had anybody. I had one person had a problem with the coil, but that was after a whole lot of detectors. And I was worried that it was his coil was bad, but no. Dan says no, he doesn't have it typed in right. Because it won't see it if you don't have that. That's another thing. It's a little minor irritation about the Deus 2 is putting all the serial numbers in for
Yeah.
the coils. It's a little bit of a pain,
Yeah.
but the detector is so good, it's worth doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
very, very much so.
yeah, a common mistake is confusing a 0 for an O or vice versa. That can trip people up too. And how would you know? I mean, you're not going to know by looking at it. So
Yeah,
Well, if you put it in, if it doesn't react and you
yeah,
don't hear nothing when you turn it on, you got it wrong.
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
So
That's a good
take
test.
a picture with your phone and you can make it bigger.
You can enlarge it. I do that all the time. I take pictures of everything. When I'm going like to Home Depot or something, I'll take pictures of things so that I need to get exactly the same.
Mhm.
Hey, I just wanted to touch base real quick because we had some people asking about canceled events. They might be canceled on Facebook, but we're over here on YouTube. So, and you're here with us on YouTube. So don't worry about those canceled events on Facebook. We're going to be here on YouTube. It's just a hacker issue.
If the hacker got in there from the events, I'm sure. So
Yes,
that's
for
one of the
sure.
reasons there again why we're on YouTube. And all the events are going off just as we had them. There hasn't been any changes. Maybe a couple of dates shifting around, but all the events, all the way out to the end of the year. I'm starting to book now for 2023. So all the events will go off just as they're planned. Next Monday night we'll have Dillick will be here to apologize for not showing. Dwight and Kimmy Price will be along with her, so it's going to be another great show then. And everything's going to go off just as planned. That's why one of the reasons why we made the transition to strictly YouTube because of moronic hackers.
Yes, for sure. But we got it covered, Jeff. We did.
Yep, we do.
Grant, I'm reading some of the feed on the YouTube, and they're talking about hunting in Culpeper. Have you taken this detector in some highly mineralized ground?
Not probably as mineralized as Culpeper, but as I was saying before, I was in Virginia a few months ago, and I'm going back in a couple weeks, and I did get to a point where I was like, oh boy, this is different kind of ground, and I did the ground noise cancellation and then some manual ground balance, and that seemed to do the trick. So, but what I recommend is just scroll through the programs until you get something that's somewhat quiet. Do some plant to find and make sure you're getting stuff at depth, and one by one change the settings to see if sensitivity makes a difference, if reactivity makes a difference. Just before you get out in the field, if you can just test it to try to dial it in, that's what I would recommend you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, don't be afraid to change programs. If you get up to,
Yep.
digging in Virginia, don't be afraid to mess with the programs, change something, because you're not going to mess it up. Because if you shut the machine off and turn it back on, it's going to go back to factory default.
Right.
So you can't really mess it up. So just play with it and see.
Agreed.
It's all going to be, and you could be 200 yards apart, and Grant could be over here and Barb over there, and Barb's going to get different, have to run a different program possibly than Grant will. It's just there's that much variation, and
Yep.
like a couple hundred yards. So I would just encourage you to play with it.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Find out.
And I haven't done this yet, but I think you can do that. Once you get the perfect settings that are working for you, you can save that as a custom program, correct?
Yeah, you got a
You sure
lot
can.
lot of empty slots there. You can go in and create the custom programs
You
for.
And
got
that
what, 12 empty slots, Grant?
Something like that. Yeah, I've only used, I think, 2. So
so,
I've only got 3.
yeah.
so person they find the perfect what works for them in that location, they can just go ahead and save that.
Yeah.
And then the next
Yeah.
day when they're back at the same spot, like doing one of those digging in Virginia hunts,
Yeah.
they'll have they won't have to reset everything.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
All righty. Cool.
Very, very good. Very good. Well, we're almost out of time. It's hour kind of went by fast, and hopefully everybody, we didn't miss anybody that thinks we're no longer doing the show, because we are. And so everything will run just like I said before. I will be doing a entry video for our giveaway for next week, and like I said, you have to be a member. The only thing that's going to change is if you're not a member of Treasure Talk YouTube, you need to do that. And I do check to see that people are a member to be eligible to win the giveaways. But I think everything's going to run just like clockwork here on YouTube. The chat seems to go a little smoother, don't you think, Phil?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you can see everybody's name, whereas on Facebook and YouTube you couldn't see on Facebook everybody. No, how did that work? Somewhere you couldn't see the names.
Yeah,
And
most of the time you couldn't.
yes, but this worked out great. And
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good thing. And Grant, we're glad you're on here with us today. So, are you planning? Do you go to any of these big hunts like digging in Virginia?
I don't. I've been to what was it? Like dig stock and pound the ground in the past, but generally I haven't gone to the bigger one. Yeah. So
Okay.
I am.
No,
I
you're
have
gonna go.
I get my own farm field, so I'm good.
How often do you go to England?
Well, prior to COVID, I would go out once a year, and then I haven't been there since 2018, I think. So this was my first trip in a while, but I would love to go twice a year. But once a year might be pushing it enough with my wife.
I
Yeah,
can
you got a lot of stuff going on. Maybe we'll see you. I will be at Digstock in March
Oh yeah.
in North Carolina. Yeah, so the Mumbles man and I are going up.
Nice.
So maybe we'll see you there, Grant.
All right. Yeah, I'll let you know if I decide to go.
And I think it'll be a good time. I know I tried to blast Phil, but he can't leave the shop.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I got to be there. But I
Yeah,
love my job. I've got the perfect job. I sell fun and excitement.
Yeah.
yeah, you will.
It's
You
just
make people's day.
yes, it's just the coolest hobby ever. And,
Yes.
hey, do you ever do any ring finds?
I have only one, I think. When a neighbor of mine lost his ring putting up, I think, Christmas decorations in his
Okay.
bush. So I couldn't, because it was in the bushes, I couldn't get the coil to swing. So I was on my hands and knees with my pinpointer, and I actually found it. But I don't get many calls to do that kind of stuff. So,
Well,
Well,
I think people are under the ring finders now that, that are registered ring finders.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
great. They do an amazing service.
they do. I get a lot of calls for that. I used to rent detectors, but most
Yeah.
of the time, the people first time with a detector, they don't find the target. I mean, some did. There's
Yeah.
some crazy stories. Some found somebody else's ring, not
Yeah.
theirs. So, but I forward them to metal detecting clubs, the one over in Largo and the one here in Tampa. And I have one today somebody called me about,
Mm.
and I forward them on, and they'll get a group of guys to go out and help
Yeah.
the people out, because you get a tourist lose something, they're just heartbroken.
Right. Of course. Yeah, for sure. I
Are we
would be.
running over, Jeff?
Just a little bit. That's okay.
All right. Well, Brent, I want to thank you for coming on here with us and sharing your wisdom on the Deus too. By the look of the chat, you did an awesome job. So
Oh,
thank
great.
you. And thank you,
Thank you.
Jeff, and thank you, Jocelyn, for helping us out here. I think the YouTube is going to work out great, Jeff.
Yeah, Jocelyn. Hey, Joss, you got a promotion, eh? You're no longer on the phone. You got a laptop, eh?
Yeah, she's asking for more money now. Thanks.
Well,
Thanks,
you
Jeff.
know, and
Thanks,
just tell him, Jocelyn,
It's coming.
get a few more ice cubes for the wine, and we'll be good to
Merry
go.
Christmas, Jeff.
A few more ice cubes for the wine.
That's it. That's it. So, Grant, thanks much for
Thank
coming
you.
over with us tonight. And like I said, I don't think we missed a beat not being on Facebook.
No.
So everybody enjoyed it. You're very knowledgeable, and we certainly look forward to having you back again soon.
Yeah, I'd love it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight with us and making the migration to YouTube. We will be here just like always. The Treasure Tales will be Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on YouTube, as will Facebook no longer. And next week, Treasure Talk, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time right here on YouTube. You'll see Phil's pretty face and my ugly one. So we'll see you then. Thanks for joining us tonight. Happy hunting and dig deeper, everybody.
Happy
Take care.
hunting, dig deeper for sure.
Bye.